Welcome to the Andrea Giovino Show. I'd like to thank all the subscribers that continue to subscribe. Thank you for leaving comments. And I always like to thank Jesus for giving me this platform and helping me to be the person I am today. We don't like no negativity. You want to leave negative comments, I'm not going to respond to that. Well, I mean,
So this individual, back when I was a young kid, so Tommy Karate used to be, if you look him up and you research him, he used to be into the Bruce Lee movies,
yes,
the martial arts. He went over to Japan to train, I believe, to get his black belt overseas.
For like over 2 years. I mean, even with that, he had to have discipline. What triggered him?
I think he was a psychopath.
Sociopath.
You know, doesn't have a value on life. My dad, back in those days, we used to watch, when I was a little kid, we used to watch Bruce Lee movies.
Right.
He used to have all of the weapons, aside from guns. Take guns out of the equation for a second, okay? Mm-hmm. Had those too. The Chinese stars.
Well, he was probably more than likely enjoying what he did because it gave him more power and control. And then setting people up for money and drugs because he was behind the murder of Greg Ryder, you know, Mark Ryder's son, which was disgusting what he did. Disgusting.
A lot of the things he did were disgusting. I believe he was somebody that fell into a position of a hired hitman, mm-hmm, but enjoyed the task at hand. Mm-hmm. Enjoyed living that life of killing people.
And he also enjoyed, that's why he was around, because I remember asking Frank Lino, well, of course, they call him Tommy Karate. Is he good at karate? And then Frank Lino said, well, yeah. He goes, like, if somebody's giving us a hard time, we'll send him over there and, like, you know, give him a beating or whatever he needs to get. So he was definitely good at what he did with his hands, you know. And you can hurt somebody, as you know, doing those kinds of things, and especially the techniques he knew for karate. Like, but he took to the next level of murder.
And it wasn't just murder. It was, taking apart body parts, piecing them up, and, doing whatever he did with them.
Making a puzzle with them.
This was a sick individual.
Man.
This wasn't just somebody who was killing people. It was way beyond that.
I'm so glad they took him off the streets because he's a menace to society and an evil person.
Evil individual, yes.
To do what he did. And let's face it, knowing what I know about addiction, and I've helped a lot of people with addiction because I have like now 35 years of knowledge to addiction. And his girlfriend, whether he got it from Phyllis Birdie or got high with Phyllis Birdie, didn't matter if Phyllis Birdie she's going to get high with anybody. Like an addict, when they want their drug of choice, they could go to Hong Kong and find it. They can go to Afghanistan and find it and not know nobody. They know how to find their drug. So he, looking at the picture and what I know about...
Based on the rules of the mafia, though, Phyllis Birdie should not have been killed.
No.
Based on the rules that they're supposed to follow.
No, she shouldn't have.
She wasn't a made member.
No, she's considered a civilian. You don't kill civilians. They kill amongst themselves.
But this is a very psychopath. Individual.
Frank Gangi. Not just that, when he got stopped for the DUI. Now that DUI, he had an addiction problem because he was drinking. Yeah, because then the minute he got out of prison after being incarcerated, whatever many years, 5 years they gave him, or whatever, he started using drugs again.
So just picture this, like just to the audience, just picture this. Guy gets pulled over on a DUI.
A street guy,
a hardcore criminal, a guy that's a criminal his entire life, gets pulled over on a DUI and starts telling them about murders.
Forget it.
Just starts confessing to murder. He can't. Mm-hmm. This is how deeply buried this was. He couldn't live with himself anymore.
It's insane. It's truly insane.
He was on a date with a girl. He's on a date. I believe it was the girl's first date that she went out with him. He gets pulled over. He's a little bit drunk or high or whatever, and he just starts confessing to all of these different murders. That's what happened with Frank Gangi.
They got the feds must have got wow, this was a gift.
He handed it to them
from up above.
He handed it to them.
He handed it to them.
But he couldn't live with
He could not live with himself.
But he crimes that he committed.
But what I'm saying, he couldn't live with himself even after incarceration. I'm telling you, he was waking me up in the middle of the night, ringing my phone. He was stoned.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to say, Frank, you can't call me. And he still didn't listen. Then I had to block him.
He wasn't just a hitman. He was a hitman that lived in a real life horror movie.
Yeah, for him.
You know, I mean, you know, look at this guy. Look at this Tommy Pitera, this Tommy Karate. Look what kind of guy he was. I mean, he wasn't just a hitman. He was a serial killer, psychopath hitman.
Psychopath. Through everyone I knew back in, you know, growing up in my old neighborhood, and I know a lot of guys from different families. You know, I knew people from the Colombo family. I knew people from the Gambino family. I knew people from the Bonanno family. You know, I know a lot of different people. You know,
you got a couple of other families you like.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, I know a lot of different people from different families because we all came from the same neighborhood, and in that era, and in that era, in my age group or even older than me, there were a lot, which you don't hear about it today. A lot of them were killers. I don't know what that was, but a lot of them killed. They were just hardcore killers.
Yeah.
You know?
They killed a lot amongst themselves.
Oh, yeah,
within wars and territories amongst themselves.
Yes.
Or street-related crimes.
Right.
But then there were those certain individuals, and Tommy Karate wasn't the only one. There was a few other psychopaths that were like him, that were enjoyed killing people.
Well, Sammy, you know, Sammy Gravano, he killed a lot of people, or was...
He was a part of a
lot of murders. But the difference, with Sammy, it was all about business. It wasn't just go out and kill people to kill them. It was, and I'm not justifying that. I don't want people to think I'm justifying that. It was more about Sammy killed within the families of business.
So I know exactly.
Of greed.
I know exactly what you're saying. I'm going to explain it in a little bit of detail because the audience might not fully understand where we're going with this. Sammy the Bull Gravano was involved with a lot of murders as well, but these guys have rules, and the rules that they have to follow is when they're given an order from a boss to execute on a murder, they have to follow through on that order, otherwise they may end up getting killed themselves.
Right.
So that's kind of how it worked. So you're talking about a different type of killer.
Absolutely.
You're talking about a guy that was a gangster and killed as part of the criminal organization that he was involved with, and now you're talking about another guy that. So when I say another guy, I'm referring to Pitera, that is, in my opinion, like a psychopathic serial killer that wants to kill. He wants to kill.
That's insane.
And continuously kill.
Yeah, that's insane.
And I believe he had some type of sick
I think the difference
with
Sammy, it was more about greed.
Absolutely.
It was always with money with Sammy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was more about greed.
Absolutely. Ganji was involved in this because he was a career criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a career criminal, you know, and... you know, you're talking about drugs, stealing, murder.
Well, I think Angie got caught up in the neighborhood that we came from, and that's
he was a street guy, grew up a street guy.
Yeah.
But now you're this street guy that, you know, drug stealing, murder. But now that's going to the next level.
Oh yeah.
It's the next level of killing. It's killing with a psychopathic serial killer that's dismembering the bodies.
And then you have to remember, he probably witnessed Tommy Karate with no remorse. Like, no remorse. Like, you know, kill somebody, wrap them up, chop the body up, and then, you know.
Let's go have some pancakes.
Yeah, like that, not even think next, who we get next. Like, you know, and that becomes a power. They absorb that, and they look at it probably like they're powerful, you know. Like if you do research on any type of sociopath or psychopath or serial killer, when they kill, it gives them a sense of power, and which is really dangerous because they continue to do that, to live that pattern. So it becomes different than what organized crime killings are, because like I said, organized crimes, and I'm not rationalizing and I'm not justifying, so I want the audience to know that I never would justify anybody getting killed. To me, it's disgusting and it's a heinous crime. But they do it amongst themselves for money, greed, power, respect. It's amongst themselves. It's never, not going to say never, because usually you don't go outside the family. Has it happened at times? I'm sure.
Of course.
I'm sure, but they usually don't. They usually don't, because that brings a lot of heat on them.
We could argue back and forth on that. They're not supposed to. Is maybe what you should say. Okay.
Right. They're not supposed to. When they take that oath.
Yeah.
And the oath that they take, is everything about to be loyal, with the family and follow the family rules. And Sammy, in his younger days, was that person. He was a very respected, structured mob guy. He was.
Well, some of these other guys that you see, they're not.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, Sammy was. I remember. I was a young kid. Sammy was. I remember people out when I was.
He was in that life.
Right.
So to a civilian sitting home watching this channel, they're gonna look at us like we're crazy if we say Sammy was a respected guy. He was a respected guy in the streets.
In the street life, yes. In organized crime, not just with the Gambino crime family, other families. Because I remember I was a young girl and I was with somebody. And we walked in a bar, and Sammy was there. And I didn't know Sammy. I was more friendly with John Gotti. Mm-hmm. I really didn't know Sammy. But I remember the talk, like, that's Sammy Gravano. That's Sammy the Bull.
Yeah.
People feared him. People did fear him. And he was somebody to be feared.
Yeah.
The way he, conducted himself. So, but yeah, I mean, we come from an area where there are a lot of born killers. I don't know what that's about. I really don't.
What I've seen with a lot of guys, a lot of people, right? People outside of the mafia and organized crime. Too many people like and respect that whole gangster lifestyle mentality. Yeah, they idolize it. I look back at friends that I had, I'm not going to mention the last name just because of family members, but a guy that passed away, I'll just give his first name was Sal. I remember him saying to me, he was a lot older than me when I was younger, that, he had the ability, because he was a full Italian, to be a made guy. Mm-hmm. Like, that was what he looked up to his whole life. That was what he wanted to be. Like, some people, they go to school and they want to be, a doctor or a lawyer, a veterinarian, whatever it may be. I remember Sal wanted to be a gangster.
Well, if you also look at it, that not just in our country, around the world, that's why the Get Gotti show did so well. Around the world, it aired in 198 countries. Mm-hmm. It was #1 for a very long time. It's because people are fascinated with that. They're fascinated, which I don't understand. And that's why I get a lot of backlash from other men, like, oh, she don't know, or she thinks...
Because we grew up right in and around it.
I think these men that try to bash me, not even in organized crime, regular people from another country or whatever, if they...
What are we talking about now, on YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube. Well, of course we're talking on YouTube.
They're always going to bash on YouTube.
No, but I'm saying what I think is that because they don't have the body parts, I don't want to say, like, to go out and do that. Not that I would or did, but I think that they have this thing about how could she be talking about it when they're little, like, scared little things that won't talk about anything. Like understanding, like, how does she know? I knew because I was around it. I grew up in it. I heard it. I was around,
Yeah, you were around some of the biggest gangsters in the history of the mafia. That's the reality
of it. But they think all these companies lie, and they say, oh, yeah. I mean, even with Mark Ryder calling from prison, vouching, they still say she's lying. It's crazy.
Yeah, well,
because it's men that don't have that body part that want to call me.
They're always somebody's always going to say something. So you got
I don't know.
Listen.
I won't respond. If you're going to be negative, I'm not responding to anything.
But that's everybody. Everybody gets negative responses on YouTube. I don't get too many, thank God. Please don't say nothing bad about me. Please don't say nothing bad about me. Actually, I laugh. If they say something that's funny, that's okay. If it's funny, I laugh.
I could care less. I don't know these people. I could care less about that. It was a point I'm bringing out about men in general. That a regular Joe Blow that's going to work 9 to 5, not a street guy, is idolizing these kind of mafia killers because maybe this Joe Blow don't have the balls.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. The same way we grew up.
To go ahead and do something if somebody was bothered in his family. Maybe that Joe Blow could never go ahead and do that. So he idolizes the man because I see it. I even see it now. You know, with the guys that have their YouTube channels, they talk about all these murders and heinous crimes, and you have these nobodies idolizing them. Why? Because you don't have the castañas to go out and do it.
I think with movies like The Godfather, like Scarface, you know, like Donnie Brasco. That was the movie. We couldn't think of the name of the movie earlier.
Donnie Brasco.
It was the movie Donnie Brasco.
When he says Sonny
Red, Bruno! Yes, he yells.
That was his son.
So, you know, it's a lifestyle that these people like us also grow up in and around. They start to idolize these people because these mobsters, these gangsters, they're looked at sometimes like almost like celebrities.
Like heroes.
So-and-so just walked into the restaurant. So-and-so just came into the bar.
Yeah.
That's so-and-so. He's with such and such.
Yeah.
Referring to that's this gangster that's with this gangster, or that's this gangster with this family, so on and so forth. So some of these guys are actually looked at
as celebrities.
Like someone would look at as a celebrity.
Yes.
Inside their neighborhoods.
Right.
Okay. So they get this false sense of pride and ego, and it just builds up. It builds up and it builds up. And this big, proud person eventually, in many situations, at some point in their life, ends up falling and getting humbled when it comes to a time of death or prison. So a lot of these guys, they end up dead or in prison. Not all.
I also believe that a lot of them, just like getting back to Frank Angie, and many that I know, have a very hard time after they cooperate. They
can't live with themselves.
They can't live with themselves.
Why can't they live with themselves?
They keep talking about it, and then they want to still act like they're part of around the neighborhood or in the community, but a lot of them can't live with themselves. I think they love it. That's all they know.
They can't live with themselves because this is the oath, you don't rat.
Yeah.
And yet this is what they've become.
Right.
So, but it's for a variety of reasons. You know, some of them are good reasons, many of them aren't good reasons. Who knows? But they put themselves in their life positions and situations in a situation where here's the scale. Am I going to face life in prison? Or am I going to cooperate on a bunch of criminals?
I don't believe any of them should be loyal because truthfully, in that life, it's such a dog-eat-dog world.
It is dog-eat-dog.
And everybody's for themselves. And if it's a matter of me doing life or you doing life, you could bet your ass I'm going to protect me.
And that's
basically what they do. And you can't really fault them for that because they're all in it. And the guy that he's working alongside with, growing up with, should know that. They should know that.
But
not
again,
justifying that it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do is never get involved because you wouldn't be faced with that position.
It's like I was talking to a friend of mine earlier. Once you start making money, you want to keep chasing that dollar.
Yeah.
You want to make more. Once you get a
little bit, it's never enough.
Once you get a little bit of power,
yes,
you want more power.
Right.
Okay, and it's never enough money. It's never enough power. And what they do is they keep chasing more money, more power, more respect, higher ranks inside the mafia, and eventually it consumes them.
Just like with John Gotti, he wanted to be the boss,
and he was consumed. John Gotti was consumed by himself.
Yeah,
he was his own downfall.
Yes. Yes, he was. He was. But with that, we're going to close out. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for continuing to tune in and watch. I hope you like this. Leave a thumbs up or leave us a comment. No rude comments because we won't respond to that. Thank you, Toby, for co-hosting.
God bless. Follow us at Toby TNT1, at Andrea Giovino 1.
YouTube.
On YouTube, on Instagram.
Yes.
And, God bless. Stay away from that gangster life. Don't even think about it. There's a reason why all of these people cooperate. There's a reason why all of these other people end up dead. And there's another reason why all of these other people end up in prison. Do the right thing. God bless.
Thank you.